Right then, folks, Jacob here. Today we're going to be looking at the Polaris. And so the reason that I'm making this video is due to the fact that potentially this is going to be around maybe sometime next year. However, that's only a rumour at present. Also, another reason, I might have this ship, but why do I have this ship is the question. I look at this ship and I kind of get the Constellation Phoenix vibes from it. However, the Connie Phoenix isn't the reason I actually bought this ship. I mean, almost everyone knows why someone would buy this. The white aspects, and not to mention the appearance of the bridge from the exterior, partially the interior as well. From an interior standpoint, the crew aspect of the Connie Phoenix looks relatively similar to what I'd expect the Polaris to look like, but with less black and a more ageist feel to it. Speaking of ages, the only other comparable ship to the Polaris would of course be the Hammerhead, given that it's classed as a corvette, much like the Polaris. So the Polaris is 30 meters longer than the Carrack, while being 6 meters wider and 5 meters higher. So basically the Carrack plus a G12 rover or an Ursa rover on the side, or a ballista on top, and the Mantis in front for an overall dimensions of 155 meters in length, 82 meters beam, and 35 meters in height. All subject to change. And of course, these calculations don't take into consideration whether they are actually up to date. This has all come from the RSI website, so whether these are up to date, we're not sure. In which case, just ignore what I just said. What I will say, however, is the weight is listed as, I think it said 17 tons, compared to the Carrack at 4 tons. It's like 4 times the weight for an extra maybe 10-15% of the size. It doesn't quite add up. The Polaris is we can kind of call it like a hybrid capital ship. So yeah, that might be why perhaps. I mean, it's got some really big torpedoes, which we'll get into soon. So that might be why that's like that. And of course, given the fact that it's an extra 6 meters in width, basically means that it's not going to fit into a large hangar, much like the Carrack only just fits into the large hangar. So that instantly throws Polaris out the window in regards to spawning it there, because you can't spawn a reclaimer there, and the reclaimer is bigger than the Polaris to some aspects. It's the same length, but otherwise the reclaimer is bigger than the Polaris. And so this could also mean that it's not going to spawn at the other space stations, Tressler, etc., etc. However, of course, from the Invictus Week, capitals will go into those stations, and it may well be how the Idris and the Javelin spawn, the Polaris would spawn in the same way. Of course, this, as always, is all speculation. As far as small organisations are concerned, I reckon this would be a decent ship to base out of, even maybe alongside a Hammerhead, where you've got the same shield strength, you've got a decent amount of firepower in both ships, and all that good stuff. And just to go that extra mile, you could even throw in a Kraken there, maybe 10 miles, 15 miles out with its fighters. You could have quite an impressive force at that point. And so, of course, back to the Polaris. It has most things that anyone could need, going from a crew quarters, a medical bay, armory, captain's quarters, cargo bay, hangar bay, and even quarters for the flight pilot specifically. You've got enough room for, well, apparently you've got enough room for a rover in its side ramp, and of course a mess hall. And there's probably tens of other things I forgot to mention. These I've mentioned here are from a Q&A around the time the Polaris was mentioned, so of course, as always, there's links in the description if you want to get some more information than I've just provided. From a statistical perspective, it has capital radar, 2 medium computers, capital power plant, 2 large coolers, 2 large shield generators, 3 large fuel intakes, 2 medium fuel tanks, a large quantum drive, large jump drive, and lastly a large quantum fuel tank. With those in mind, the Polaris has been pushed as a fast ship, and I guess that's why it has 3 large fuel intakes. That's equal to a capital ship in itself, because obviously 3 small equal to medium, 3 medium equal to large, etc., etc. However, clearly it doesn't have a lot of fuel, because the Hammerhead has 2 large fuel tanks of the Polaris's 2 mediums. So that is, that is a third of the fuel tank to the Hammerhead. So, not so good. I mean, if you've flown a hammerhead, do you run out of fuel fairly quickly? Anyway, if you know what that's like, let me know in the comments below. As far as weapons are concerned, there are 5 manned turrets with a pair of size 4 guns, 2 remote guns, one size 5, the other size 4. Now the stats said there's only 1 gun, or 1 mount, but the Q&A said there's 2 mounts, so we'll find out. And then on top of that, there's 2 racks of size 3 missiles with 16 missiles each. Basically anti-fighter missiles, and that's all well and good. And of course, the big daddy torps, of which are size 10, with 4 total racks, 7 per rack, meaning 4 size 10 torps at a time, which is insane. That's like, oh, I'm just gonna lob all these torps at a javelin. Goodbye, javelin. Is basically the story there. I mean, maybe the javelin will survive that. I'm sure it probably would do, but yeah, not for long. And so, with all of that in mind, I bring you footage of the QT of the hammerhead, and of course also QT of the Connie Phoenix. Now, basically, to an extent, the Polaris is these 2 ships combined, and that's of course why I bring you footage of these 2 today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Today's video sponsor is the like button for the glorious YouTube algorithm. That will of course allow this channel to grow with your support. Obviously don't forget to comment or subscribe. If you aren't already aware, I generally upload daily, so be sure to check back. My name is Jacob, thank you, and goodbye for now.